I'm going to start off by reviewing both of these tracks. The first thing says to factor out the GCF. Okay, so if I'm going to factor it out, first I got to know what it is. So I'm looking for the biggest thing that these two terms have in common. You'll notice they both have a 3 in common, they both have an x, and they both have a y. And that's the biggest thing, one y. They both have one y, they both have one x, and they both have one 3. So then if I'm going to factor it out, that means I'm going to divide each one of these terms by that. Well, 3xy divided by 3xy is 1. And then 9 divided by 3 is positive 3. X divided by x, those will cancel. Y squared divided by y is going to be y. So this is how this version, should you have had the other version, you're doing the same thing. You're looking for the biggest thing both of these have in common, which would be 4xy. To factor it out means I've got to divide both of those terms. So 4xy divided by 4xy is 1. 20 divided by 4 is 5. X divided by x is 1. Y squared divided by y is y. Same thing, we're going to factor out the GCF. So I'm looking for the biggest thing that these have in common. They both have a 4 in them, and they both have one x in them. So 4x would be my GCF, and then when I divide 4x squared divided by 4x, I would be left with x, and when I take 12 divided by 4 is 3, x divided by x is 1. Over here, these both have 5x in common, so I'm going to factor out that 5x. 5x squared divided by 5x would leave x. 15 divided by 5 is 3, x divided by x is 1. And then the last thing you're supposed to find, well, what's the missing factor? So if you were multiplying all these things. Well, if I were to just look at just multiplying these, I get negative 2x squared y. I've got to multiply that by something to get 12x to the 4th, y to the 8th. So what you may consider doing is, remember, multiplying is the opposite of division. If you want to know what this question mark is, divide both sides by negative 2x squared y. Well, let's see, 12 divided by negative 2 is negative 6. Then I have what? X to the 4th divided by x squared would be x squared. Y to the 8th over y to the 1st would leave y to the 7th. Same thing on this other side. I have 15x to the 4th, y to the 8th. These two would be negative 3x squared y, and then it's times something. So I could say divide both sides by this and solve for that something. Well, negative 3 goes into 15, negative 5 times x to the 4th divided by x squared. Where's the bigger x? On top. Subtract them. 4 minus 2 is 2. Y to the 8th minus y. Remember, that's like having a 1. So 8 minus 1 would be 7. Okay, so let's go look at these shapes. We used these shapes way back at the beginning of the year, so let's go back and redefine them just to make sure we remember. The length of this blue, the length of this side is x, and since it's a square, that means the length of this side is x as well, which means the area of our blue square would be x times x, which is x squared. The red tile simply represents its opposite, so it would be the negative portion. Our green tile, you'll notice this length is the exact same length as this length, so it's x long, and then this side's going to be 1. So the area of our green tile will be x times 1, which is x, and then the red tile would be just the opposite, negative x. This tile right here, that length is the exact same as this length up here, which makes it a 1, and since it's square, it's going to be a 1 by 1. And then, of course, the red one would be the opposite, which is negative 1. These two tiles end up being the opposite of each other. So in other words, if you were to have a blue tile combined with a red tile, like so, that would be x squared minus x squared, which would give you 0. They actually would just cancel each other out. So let's go ahead and try. Now there are many rules in doing these when you're using tiles to unfoil. In other words, last week we were multiplying these things, putting them together. Now we're going to take them apart. When you're using tiles to do this, there are certain rules you need to know. For example, when you use this blue square tile, the other tiles only get to touch this side, okay? to be more specific, only the green tiles. Okay? Now, by green tiles, I mean this rectangle one, whether it's a green or it's a red one, but this is the only tile that can be placed right next to it, okay? So it can be placed here and here, and then the yellow tiles are the only ones that can go down here in these, and they have to go down here as a corner. And in the end, you have to form a rectangle, okay? So those are the rules we have to follow. Only these two tiles can touch the sides of the blue, and they only get to touch those two sides. There's nothing going to happen. This side over here and this side over here, those are off limits. It's only going to touch this side and this side, and then your one tiles will form some type of rectangle down in the bottom right, diagonal from your original blue tile. So let's try with that idea and see if we can place some tiles. First of all, this tells us we need an x squared tile. And then it tells us we need 5 green tiles. Whoops, lost my green. Picked it up, it just didn't come with me. We need 5 green tiles. Okay, and then it tells me I need 6 of my little tiles. So these are the kind of tiles we should have out to build with, okay? Now based on that, our x squared tile will always go up in the top left. So this is my x squared spot. And then after that, I've got to, it's like putting together a puzzle. And I like to do it by starting off with my, I prefer to just go with my little tiles. For example, come down off this corner and I'm going to do this 2 by 3. In this scenario, to get 6, you're either going to have a 1 by 6, a 2 by 3, or a 3 by 2. So sometimes, like I said, it's just a puzzle. Right here I've got 5 of these. Well, remember, it's going to make a rectangle, so there's going to be 2 right here. And then this over here, you'll notice I'm going to have 3 of these, okay? So that's an X, that's an X, that's an X, X, X. And then my yellows formed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? So now to actually get your answer from all this information, you're just going to find the length of the side. So I'm interested in what is the length of this side? Well, this is X plus 3. Can't get my plus. Plus 3. Sorry, it's not working right there. And this is X plus 2. Remember, this right here is only 1 long, okay? And so to actually get our factors of this, the thing that were multiplied, we have X plus 3 times X plus 2, okay? And I'm going to go ahead, I'm not going to show this on all of them, but I'm going to show you how. So this would be us unfoiling. Well, if we were to actually foil and put it back together, then that would mean we'd go X times X plus 2X plus 3X plus 6. And this is what we were working on last week, which now you would get X squared plus 5X plus 6. So you'll notice you get right back to where you began, okay? So what our goal was in this was to get back to our factors, though, the things that we originally multiplied. So this would be the factors of our degree 2 polynomial. So let's see, we've got another one here. In this case, we're going to need an x squared, and I'm going to go ahead and place my x squared where it's supposed to be. Okay, we're going to need 8 little ones. 8 little ones, you have a choice of going in a 2 by 4, a 4 by 2, a 1 by 8, and that's the puzzle part, because there are different possible ways you could do this. So I think this is going to work out okay. Now you'll have to notice that, well, that's negative. So if I were to draw based upon what I did, I'm going to get negative x, negative x, negative x, negative x. Well, that's negative 4x, right? And then over here, I'm going to end up with 2 more. So that's going to give me my negative 6x. So now I'm just interested in, once again, in the side length. Well, this would be x minus 4, and this would be x minus 2. So this ends up being x minus 4 times x minus 2 would equal x squared minus 6x plus 8. And once again, if I were to FOIL that back out, it would show back up as that original degree 2 polynomial. This one's a little different. I need 2x squareds, which means I'm going to have to draw 2 of these. You can put them side by side, or you can put one on top of the other. That's really up to you. It'll end up being the same thing. So then after that, I'm going to need 3. This is where that puzzle comes in. Your choices, they're not a lot for 3. It's either 1 by 3 or 3 by 1. So I'm just going to go with 1 by 3, and maybe right, maybe wrong. I'm just kind of guessing right now. Hadn't given it any thought. Okay? And the catch to that is because I can always undo it and go the other way. Okay? Then I need 7 of my green ones, right? And I happen to get lucky. So since I'm now going to do 7, well, this is going to have to come, remember, it has to be a rectangle, so I'm going to have to fill in all this space. You'll notice I have 6 right here. And then here's going to be my 7th x right there. So with everything I've got, you'll see that I've got my 1, 2, 3. I've also got my 2x squared, and then I got my 7x's. So then once again, we're interested in how long are the sides. So how long is this side? Well, this is 2x squared, or 2x, I'm sorry, no squared, I'm sorry. Remember, the length of those sides is only x. So this is 2x, because this is x and this is x. And then this right here is 1, so 2x plus 1. So that means I got 2x plus 1 as one of my factors. And then over here, we have x, and this will be plus 3, because that's 1, 2, 3. So I've got x plus 3. And those would be, once again, the 2 factors that would FOIL out to give me that. So last week we were multiplying them together to get this scenario. Now we're trying to go backwards and undo this scenario. Okay, we got one more to do together. This would be x squared. And then you'll notice I have minus 4, which means these down here are just going to, they could be a 1 by 4 or a 2 by 2. So this is negative 1, negative 1, negative 1, negative 1, so that gives me my negative 4. Okay? Now, you'll notice I have no x's. So when I think about having no x's, that means here are 2 x's, right? And then over here is a negative x and a negative x. So when you add up 2x minus 2x, you'll get 0x, which will work out to give us this scenario right here of x squared minus 4. Then once again, I'm interested in the length of my side. Well, this is x, and this would be minus 2. This is x plus 2. So the factors of x squared minus 4 would be x plus 2 and x minus 2. And once again, if you FOILed those out, you would get to this degree of 2 polynomial.